basically take off from a standing start. So right, there it is. There I can hear the traction control working. There we go. Whoa. Wow, they've felt the tyres probably left the ground there. That's not very good at all. G'day, I'm Paul. I have been excited to drive this. This is the new Ford Everest Tremor. It kind of picks up where the Ranger left off with the Ranger Tremor, except it improves things with a bigger engine and a couple of other bells and whistles. So today we're going to do a detailed review of this. We're going to do a bit of light off-roading as well. How much does this cost? So it sits one down from the top spec Platinum. It's priced at just under $77,000, but that's before you add some of the options that I'll run you through in just a second. And it's designed to really be off-road friendly and take you that one step closer to one of the modifications that people kind of already do to their vehicles anyway, but have them all still covered by the standard Ford warranty. So I think that's good. Now, if you do want to skip ahead to other parts of this review, you've got time codes on the screen, or if you're on YouTube, you can scroll down and use the chapters below. Let's start off with the design. This thing turns heads everywhere that it goes. It just looks so good. So this has, one of the options fitted to it is the rough terrain pack, I think they're calling it. And it is basically this, which comes from ARB. It's a front bar with underbody protection as well. It also comes with holes here for you to mount stuff in the future. And the good thing with all of this ARB setup, ARB worked with Ford very early on in the development program to do things like CFD, the computational fluid dynamics, to see what kind of airflow you're getting through this vehicle, because you need to have adequate airflow for towing and other sort of high intensity tasks that you may not have with a third party bar that isn't warranted by Ford, which is why if you get this fitted with your purchase, it is covered by the 5-year Ford warranty. They also move things like your cameras, so you can see the front camera's been redirected down there. Any sensors that need to be shifted, like your parking sensors, they get moved as well. So it is a worthy thing to add if you are going to go down that path. Love that all of this is blacked out here. You've got these LEDs integrated into these spots, which are typically blank on Everest and Ranger. Full LED headlights as well. Then around the side here, you've got a set of all-terrain tyres, 265mm wide general grabber AT3s. You've got some wheel arch cladding there as well. This comes standard with the V6 diesel. Ranger Tremor, came with a 4-cylinder only. This is V6 diesel only, so you're getting a decent engine there. It is worth calling out as well at this point that with the V6 diesel, you probably would have seen a lot of people complaining and having recurring issues with turbo return lines failing, oil leaking throughout the engine through those return lines. So that is an issue that Ford claims to have now addressed from V6 production at the end of 2024. So this being an MY25 vehicle should have all of those bases covered. And I think that if you do have recurring issues with that problem with Ford, get them to add the fix that they've put on the production line for these engines, because there's no point. Some people have had like 3 or 4 incidences where they've had this oil leak situation, which just isn't good if you're out on the road. So get that checked out. You've got 360 camera. You've got these side steps here that are like a composite material. This is what they're fitting to the Ranger Super Duty. So it's kind of been developed to work on both Ranger and Everest. Tremor badge on the side here, which gets repeated inside the cabin too. Privacy glass, roof rails, and then come around to the back with me. Now around the back, you've got partial LED tail lights, another Tremor badge over here. Let's talk about towing capacity. So 3,500 kilo braked towing capacity. Unfortunately, the tow bar, the integrated brake controller, it's all optional, so you're going to pay extra for that as well. So by the time you start ticking a few of these boxes, the costs start adding up pretty quickly. Now in terms of capacities, because this vehicle is heavier, you've got a couple of issues. It sits higher off the ground by a little over 20 millimeters, so you've got better ground clearance. But adding a bar like that, the added ground clearance, these tyres increase fuel consumption. So that is one factor that you have to take into account. It's going to be thirstier than any other Everest with the V6 diesel. In addition to that, it reduces your payload because of all the extra mass that you're adding. They have toyed a bit with capacities, but even when you are at full 3,500 kilo payload, you're going to be maxed out with your GCM to around 300 kilos of payload inside the cabin. So keep in mind that includes your passengers and any luggage or payload that you have. So I think it is worth just considering, if you do need any additional capacity, looking at a GVM upgrade to sort of bridge that gap. If you do need it. If you don't, it's going to fit with what most people are doing, but if you do need a little bit extra, it's just something to think about. Now, let me know what you reckon about the design and the price in the comments section below. Do you reckon it looks good? Let me know your thoughts. So we're inside the Tremor. This is what the key looks like. You've got unlock, lock, and boot, and then the Ford logo on the back. It's a proximity sensing key, so you can leave that in your pocket. You've got a push button start next to the steering wheel. So interior kind of looks the same as every other Everest, with the difference being Tremor on the seats. There's some different sort of textures here and there as well, but generally a pretty decent design. It is pretty dark in here, I reckon. I don't know, they could have broken it up a little bit with Wild Track. They kind of add a bit of stitching to differentiate this, but just a bit more light in here would be nice. But it is offset by the fact that you have this enormous infotainment screen in the center. You don't get the big screen that you find in the Platinum. It's this smaller display, which I don't love. It looks a little bit cheap in comparison, but it is one of the drawbacks that you have. But yeah, outside of that, all looks sort of pretty decent. Center armrest, nice and soft. Soft on the door as well. How soft are those touch points? Well, we've got our gyrometer, tested all the surfaces in this cabin. If you do want to see how this car compares to other cars that we've tested before, there is a link in the description below. Build quality, what is it like? Tiny bit wonky there. The rest looks pretty good. That's what the door slam sounds like. There we go. Now, infotainment. So the car comes standard with Ford's big sync infotainment screen. This is the biggest version of the screen available. Really easy to use, all very sort of straightforward. They also roll out updates constantly on this as well, so it means that you're getting the latest functionality and usability on it, which is good. Comes with inbuilt satellite navigation, so you're all sorted on that front. You can then connect your phone on smartphone mirroring to get additional map functionality as well if you want. So outside of that, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, both wireless. So I'll show you what Apple CarPlay looks like. There it is there, nice big integration, pretty sort of straightforward to use. And this is what Android Auto looks like. So same story there, nice big integration, no dramas. AM, FM, DAB, digital radio. The sound system, it's okay, but not amazing. This doesn't have the B&O Play sound system, so it sort of does the job, nothing sort of too crazy. Screen ahead of the driver has a bunch of customizability in terms of what's on display, and as you move through some of the drive modes, the display changes as well, which is pretty cool. On the safety front, you've got an auto-dimming rear vision mirror, blind spot monitoring built into the wing mirror, radar cruise control with a semi-autonomous steering function. You've got front and rear parking sensors, and it's worth calling out as well, this is where the switch bank is if you go for the optional touring package that adds the integrated brake controller, the Pro Trailer Assist, and then this stuff. This car also has another option fitted, which is like the premium seat package, which adds extra adjustability on the seats and heating and cooling as well. 360 camera as well. Show you what that looks like. There it is there. So quality isn't too bad, but not incredible. But you do have a stack of different views there, depending on what you need to achieve. So. And then you can also add an additional trailer camera here as well, which I think is a really great additional feature to have. And that's what the horn sounds like. So let's chat practicality, and we'll start off with your connectivity. So down here you've got USB-C and A charging ports, wireless phone charger with a fan built into it. What else have we got here? 12-volt outlet in the center, and in terms of other storage, cup holders, decent sized center console there. You've got this top storage area plus a glove box as well, which is reasonably sized. On the comfort front, the seats are quite comfortable. I mentioned before you've got the optional seating package here that adds heating and cooling. You've got dual zone automatic climate control for the front row and electric seat adjustment, so you can go forwards and backwards. Your backrest can go forwards and backwards. You've got lumbar adjustment. You can lift the front of the seat, back of the seat. Steering offers both tilts and reach adjustment, and on our reach test, all of that stuff is pretty easy to reach while you're driving. Okay, second row, what's it like? So knee room, not great. Toe room, so-so, and headroom, reasonable. I don't know, despite the size of the car, I would have thought there'd be more space here. It just feels a little bit tight. I do have my seat quite far back though, so that is worth keeping in mind. You can slide your second row forwards and backwards, but that is sort of as far back as it goes. You've got individual blower controls, USB-C and A, plus now a 400-watt, 230-volt outlet there as well for running some of your appliances. Air vents in the headliner just there, and grab handle there as well. Do a little window test. So it's auto up and down. We'll see if it goes all the way. Excellent. Now, third row. I've climbed in there before last time we did an Everest review, and you can fit an adult in there, which is good. It is a little bit cramped. You do have a 12-volt outlet plus some bottle storage, but to comfortably fit an adult my size, you've got to have this slid forward just a little bit. So it will compromise your space if you do have an adult in the second row, but for the most part, you will be able to fit back there. So, cargo space, what is it like there with the third row? So when you have the third row up, you've got around 250 litres to work with, which isn't a huge amount of space, but it's actually not that bad. A lot of these three-row SUVs just don't offer you any room here behind the third row. You've got a little bit of underfloor storage there as well. If you do want to expand the space, you can drop the second row out of the way. That expands the space to around 900 litres. If you do want more space though, you can drop that second row. That gives you around 2,000 litres to work with. Alrighty, we've just hit the road in the Everest Tremor. So I mentioned earlier that the sole spec that this comes in is a V6 diesel in terms of the drivetrain. So 3 litre turbocharged V6 diesel, it's called the Lion engine, that's its sort of code name. 184 kilowatts of power, 600 newton meters of torque, and it's mated to a 10-speed automatic transmission. I mentioned before that Ford has done some work to this engine to fix some of the reliability issues they had with oil leaks. This is all partly due to Ranger Super Duty, which is going to run this same engine, but different sort of duty cycles for light trucks effectively. So I think they invested, well, they should have invested it to start with, given they've had issues since launch with it, but they've invested in making sure that that will meet the reliability requirements for Super Duty, and then that flows down to the passenger vehicles that are also fitted with the same engine. So it's a win for consumers, and also that entered production from the end of last year. So any Ranger or Everest you buy after that point will have all of those fixes in place. What does it all feel like behind the wheel? Well, one of the good things with this engine is that it's just nice. It's smooth. There's no sort of fuss. Everything just happens. And the 10-speed auto does a reasonably good job as well of not hunting too often and just being in the right gear when it needs to be. And it does pair well with these drive modes that you can select depending on what you're doing. Like the towing mode, for example, will lock out higher gears to put less stress on the engine. So there's just a few little benefits of making sure you're in the right drive mode when you need to be. Now, the other cool thing here as well, you can drive it in two-wheel drive high range, which will save you fuel. I found with my Raptor, it's sort of maybe 5-10% improvement, and that is because you're not activating the front axle. It means that you're basically just sending torque to the rear, and it requires less effort to drive the vehicle then, but you can drive it in four-wheel drive auto on sealed surfaces, which is definitely good news. Let's talk about fuel economy. So Ford claims a combined average of under 10 litres per 100. We're currently sitting on 12. I'll call out that we did some filming topsy-turvy today, so we've done some of the faster driving earlier in the day, so it's pushed that up a little bit. But yeah, look, it's sort of around 11 is what you'd expect with this, with highway driving. That's going to creep up if you're towing and with the more load that you have on board as well. Now, let's have a look at what it's like on our sine waves if we do this at 130 k's an hour. Given this car has kind of been built for touring and stuff, it's going to spend a fair bit of time out on country roads, and you're going to see stuff like these sine waves. So we'll see how it performs here in terms of body control. Whoa. Wow, they've felt the tyres probably left the ground there. That's not very good at all. It's a bit of a trade-off, right? So standard Everest typically performs pretty well over sine waves like that. This is fitted with position-sensitive Bilstein dampers, so they're designed more for harder hits off-road, not necessarily designed for that type of driving, especially when you've got an all-terrain tyre like this as well. So that is going to be one of the compromises you have. While it is better off-road, or should be better off-road with that suspension, you are going to be somewhat limited when it comes to body control over undulations like that at highway speeds. Okay, time to attack our dodgy country road. We do this at 90 k's an hour, and it just gives us a good feel for what this would be like across a corrugated road. Yeah, see, this is where the slightly softer suspension comes in handy, because you can plow over this stuff without too many dramas. Here's our condensed sine wave. Yeah, nice, all feels pretty straightforward. Now let's go for a bit of a sportier drive. Yes, this is not a sports car, but I just want to see how it handles compared to a standard Everest. Typically with the Everest, I'm sort of pretty surprised with how well it holds onto the road. So we'll just see how this fares in comparison. And it's one of the things, you're not going to be driving super fast in these, but we test all cars back to back in the same way. just to see how they feel. And it kind of unearths some of the dynamic flaws. But this actually feels pretty good. So in addition to those Bilstein dampers, this has a new set of springs as well. So it's actually doing quite well. The tyres have a surprising amount of traction. So normally with all-terrains like that, it's kind of a little compromised. But this is where the V6 really shines. It just has plenty of punch, and you can just lay into it and it'll just deliver you everything that you need. Yeah, it's a really nice package. Dynamically, this is surprisingly pretty good for a 2.5 ton vehicle. So yeah, tick on that front. We'll see what it's like on the back straight here when we lay into the throttle a bit. Yeah, nice. All feels pretty straightforward. Now, in terms of road noise, you'd expect it to actually be not that great given you're on a big old set of all-terrains, but road noise is actually pretty decent inside the cabin, even on coarse chip roads. So this is how it went when we put it up against our calibrated sound meter. If you do want to see how this car compares to others that we've tested before, there's a link in the description below. Now, in terms of visibility, you're in a great seating position, and you're sitting a little higher off the ground as well with that suspension. It all feels really nice from here. Big wig mirrors as well, so it means you can clearly see down the side of the vehicle. Blind spot monitor, good visibility out the rear as well, so it's pretty covered from that point of view. And with all the parking sensors and cameras and stuff, it is pretty easy to park this in the city. Okay, time to test the semi-autonomous steering systems. So we do that 70 k's an hour, and we just basically want to see how well it sticks within its lane, and we're going to use the 3 outer lanes. The further out we go, the harder it is for the car to achieve this task. So let's see how it goes. So this lane is fine. Jump over to the next lane. See if it keeps it fairly central there as well. Cool. All right, let go of that. Veering towards that line. It's moved itself back up to the middle now, but it sort of dived towards that line. All right, it's fixed now. Bring ourselves up to the top and see how it performs up here. Wait for that to activate. Okay, it's active. Let go of the wheel. It's gone down again. So I need to grab the wheel. Yeah, okay. Yeah, look, it is bringing itself back up here, but it did dive towards the line just before. But it is actually holding itself up here, which is pretty good. It requires a lot of steering input for it to actually do that. So I'm fairly impressed with that. But yeah, it could just be tuned a little bit better on approach to the line. Okay, time to do a little bit of performance testing, just to see what it's like from 0 to 100, and then 80 to 120 as well for our overtaking speed as well. So I'll turn traction control off. I've just left it in 4A. We'll see how that goes. Build up a bit of boost. Yeah, it's pretty sort of slow off the line, but once it sort of gets moving, it's actually not too bad. All right, there's 100. Given this does weigh a fair bit, it's probably not going to be overly quick. 120. Alrighty, let's have a look at that. So that is 0 to 100, 9.48 seconds. So that's not terrible. And then 80 to 120, 6.97 seconds. So reasonable there as well. You know, I mean, it is a heavy vehicle, and you've got to consider as well that when you're towing, it is going to be even slower still. So you can see this really did need the V6 to make it as productive as possible. Okay, let's do a stop from 100 just to see what the brake and tyre package is like. All right, here we go. All right, big old dive at the start there. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Okay, 100 to 0, 3.12 seconds, 44.28 metres. So not an amazing stopping distance, especially in the dry. That is going to be thanks to those all-terrains, unfortunately. They really do extend your stopping distance. So just something to keep in mind, especially if you're driving in the wet. Okay, so let's see how quick it goes in reverse. Here we go. All right, 39 kilometres an hour. Okay, let's do a little bit of light off-roading. I'm going to run you through just some of the high-level specs here. So More ground clearance, it means that you're able to tackle terrain that previously an Everest couldn't do. So it's an extra 29 mil over the standard Everest, and that means you have a ground clearance of 255 mil, which is pretty decent. Approach and departure angles are improved too. So 32-degree approach angle, that's the angle of the face you can approach before you hit the front of the car, and 26.9 degrees departure angle, which is the same but in reverse. You've still got the 800 millimeter wading depth. Typically with those wading depths, they give you the wading depth when the car is fully loaded. So in theory, you could probably go a little bit deeper if you wanted to, but I'd be fitting a snorkel if you're going to do any sort of proper water wading and you're concerned about having issues with the height of your intake. You're going to have problems with stuff like breathers and whatever, but 800 mil is going to be the absolute maximum that you can do. In terms of four-wheel drive hardware, you've got a rear diff lock, which is activated through the center screen here. Four-wheel drive auto and two-wheel drive high range, predominantly for driving on-road, but you've got four-wheel drive high range, where it basically apportions 50% of torque to the front and rear axles, and four-wheel drive low range, which is your torque multiplier. So we're going to test some of those out in some of these drive modes as well. So let's get started. Now we're going to start off in two-wheel drive high range just to see how well the traction control system works. So we're going to get this tyre into the air. I'm going to kill those parking sensors as well. Get this rear driver's side tyre into the air so that we can put maximum stress on traction control. It's got a decent amount of articulation there as well. You've got a Watts linkage at the rear. I'm going to lean on that throttle. Look at that. So good. They've tuned the traction control really well here for Everest, which means that even in two-wheel drive, all the car needs to do is just tap the brake and then it sends itself over that, which is really cool to see. I've also got the four-wheel drive display ahead of me there that gives you all your angles, including steering angle, which is cool. So there you go, maximum steering angle, 35 degrees. All right, so now what we're going to do, I'm going to pop it into four-wheel drive high range. And we use four-wheel drive high range on the return route here just to see how it goes with that front left with limited traction. So we'll bring that just to around there somewhere, and then we'll just lean on the throttle. Look at that rear wheel spinning. I'm going to load the throttle up now. There you go, you can see it. That's really cool. So you can see the rear wheel spinning. It then stops the spinning, sends the torque to the tyres with traction, and up and away it goes. I mean, it's as simple as that. It just works. I don't need to touch anything else. So yeah, that's pretty impressive. Next obstacle is our hill. So this has been compacted recently. So unfortunately, it's probably going to be a bit of a walk in the park, but we do this in low range. So we'll engage that. Now I'm not going to lock the rear diff just for the moment. We'll see how it goes just on its own. So basically with this, I'm just going to just stay in the throttle and just have constant throttle all the way up just to see how it goes. Then if it passes that, we'll come back up and we'll basically stop the vehicle and then basically take off from a standing start. So, all right, there it is. There I can hear the traction control working. There we go. Yet again, traction control is just doing its thing and getting us up there without any dramas at all. That is genuinely impressive stuff. That's with no rear diff locked either, which is pretty good. Okay, so we're going to do a descent now. The good thing here is once you basically engage the camera screen, that's where you can easily access your four-wheel drive controls, including the hill descent control. So that is ready to rumble. Okay, so we'll come over the top here. Okie dokie, we've got that lined up. Just let go of the brake, see how we go. Yeah, piece of cake. Pretty straightforward. It's quite slow. See if I can, oh, that's cool. So I can adjust the speed using the cruise control there as well, which is good. Excellent. Okay, now, this is the tricky one. We're going to come to a stop. I'm going to check that it has a hill hold, and then I'm going to try and get back on the throttle. So bring it up just a little bit higher, somewhere around there. Okay, so I'm going to let go of the brake. Cool, it's got a hill hold, and then roll onto the throttle. Not really getting anywhere here. All right, we'll go back. We'll try that once more with the rear diff locked. Okay, bury the car in that hole a little bit. I'll give that one more shot. Hill descent control works in reverse as well, which is good. Okay, we'll lock the rear diff. Press that. All right, cool. Do the same thing, come to a stop. And then give it one more shot. Okay, so there it is. Let go of the brake, onto the throttle. Stay in that. Look at that, piece of cake. Now, let's point out here as well, I've just left this in normal mode. So you've got a stack of different drive modes to actually pick from here. You've got normal, eco, trailer, slippery, mud ruts, sand, and rock. But it just went up there in normal without any dramas at all. So I think that is a pretty sort of pretty decent setup. And I think what really helps this is ultimately the all-terrains. They just make it so much easier for it to get through that type of terrain. You can just dig in nicely and give you the traction that you need. Rear diff lock and away you go. Okay, so time for some rocks. Let's go into our rock mode here. All right, there we go. Rock crawl. So that's a new mode. Okay, so it engages the rear diff lock. We're already in low range. Okay, so it completely dulls the throttle. So right now, that throttle input that I have barely moves the car, and that's precisely what you want on a rock crawl. I'm also going to ride the brake with the throttle as well, just to have a bit more control over the vehicle's speed. This is where the soft suspension comes in handy as well. And keep in mind too, we're just running road pressures here. If you sort of off-road and had lower tyre pressures, it'd probably be a little softer still, but no knocking under here either over these rocks, which is good. Look at that. Absolute piece of cake. Very nice. Very impressed with that. Very good. Okay, so Ford Everest Tremor. What do we reckon? Look, off-road here, these all-terrains make a massive difference. You've got extra ground clearance. You can basically buy this from the factory with all the extra stuff that you need, and it just means that you don't have to void your warranty and all that sort of stuff. And it kind of just comes with all the features that you need as well. The only downside is you've got a lot of these fiddly options you've got to pay for to add things like your cooled and heated seats and all the switch gear here on the towing mode. It's just a little bit annoying that stuff doesn't come standard, so it's going to really push the price up. But when you have a look at something like a Prado, which is 100 grand for the top spec, and you're still lumped with a 4-cylinder, this actually appears like really good value for money. So let me know what you reckon in the comments section below. Do you reckon they've done a good job with this? Are you concerned about reliability of the V6 diesel? Let me know in the comments section below. Have you bought one? How's it going? If you did enjoy this video, please make sure you like it and you share it with your mates. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. But until next time, take it easy.